really, without all that the woke stuff in there, without all that just stuff that's forced in that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the storyline, which is what we're seeing. And I think that's where people really take offense. I mean, there's
Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In today's episode, we have author and former Navy SEAL Jack Carr talking about his time working with Chris Pratt on the series The Terminal List. Now, as always, folks, if you want to join us here at the Bald Brad Show, heck, support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. With that being said, this one comes from our friends over at the Daily Caller. And they say here, I sat down with the legendary author and former Navy SEAL to discuss a variety of subjects, including his hit book, The Terminal List, becoming a series on Amazon with Chris Pratt. The Hollywood star plays main character James Reese in the series, and even before the book was out, Carr knew Pratt was the man for the role. Quote, I got a hint this was a guy's guy. I'm not really sure where that came from, but for whatever reason, Chris Pratt was the guy. He crushes it in The Terminal List, Carr explained when talking about Pratt taking over the lead role. You can listen to his full comments below, and I'll make sure I link that resource down in the description. And we still have a video clip, folks. We are not done with this article. There's a lot more here. Many of you know who Chris Pratt is. Obviously, he's in Jurassic World. He was in Parks and Recreation. The guy's been around for a while. And I'm a big fan of Pratt. I love what he does on screen. I also love what he does off screen for our veterans. And I like the fact that he is a Christian and he pushes his viewpoint out there to many young men and women. But that's also come with a lot of controversy because the left doesn't like when he talks about Christianity. The left doesn't like when he does certain things on social media or in movies. And, you know, hey, he's a cis white male. So they just don't like him because of that fact as well. But there's a main point to that quote that Carr mentioned here that I want to focus on, and that's calling him a guy's guy. And we need to have more of this in our culture. We need to have more of this in our movies, in our TV shows. And that's what this upcoming clip's going to be talking about. And this is something that's been discussed for decades, for that matter. This is something that Ben Shapiro wrote many, many years ago in his novel, Primetime Propaganda, where he went out and pretended to be a Harvard student, even though he was. And he was basically given all this access to producers, directors, screenwriters for all these TV shows. And he basically was asking them questions around kind of how are they infiltrating the Hollywood sphere, or how are they infiltrating, you know, the entertainment industry with their ideas. And it's just basically an open book of them just spewing everything. And I think there's also a diminishing of a guy's guy on TV. And that's what Jim Carr and others are going to be talking about in this clip, is how you have shows like Yellowstone or 1883, I believe it's called as well, that are kind of blowing up on TV because this is what the American people want to see. We have all these externalities like New York or California that don't fit really the main culture of what America really is, especially in middle America. And a lot of times Hollywood is hyper focused on catering towards the leftists, which you're going to see on the externalities or on the outside borders of America, again, like New York, like New Hampshire, like Washington, like California, of course. But I want to play this clip for you folks because I think it's important, and I think they hit it dead on with the aspect of, obviously, we need to show family, we need to show grit, we need to show guys, and we need to show young men and women that this is what America's all about. And this is why those TV shows are actually really important.
Changing a little bit. It's like TV is changing a little bit to kind of reflect what the audience of middle America and people who live in the Rockies and not in big cities, what they enjoy. And some examples like Yellowstone, 1883, essentially a lot of the movies Taylor Sheridan's made, they're very popular and they're gritty and they're dark. In The Terminal List, as you said, the show's going to be gritty and dark, and those are hits. What do you think it says about what people actually want when those shows blow up? Yellowstone's the most watched show on TV. In America, almost flat out rejects a lot of the woke garbage that Hollywood produces.
It's so interesting. I mean, it for those entrepreneurial amongst us, it should signal that there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to make shows for people that live outside of Los Angeles and New York. And that's a huge market. So the person that does that starts a streaming service and has high production value shows, filmed, somewhere, let's say Atlanta or whatever it might be, by sound stages, brings in best and the brightest and makes the same quality, better quality type films. But
I just want to pause it there. There's actually something I don't agree with here, that it doesn't have to be the best quality. I mean, you can get by with having a low quality production, a skin and bones crew, and still have the story be impactful and still make meaning to the audience and the audience enjoying it. So again, and I think it's important because he's trying to say, hey, look, this is an entry that's accessible to all people. And I don't want people to be discouraged here of not being able to create content because they're like, well, I don't have all this money. I don't have all this investing going into this film production. I shouldn't even just bother doing it. No, you could write scripts, try to sell them to the correct companies. I know the Daily Wire's been pushing out a lot of content as well, but don't feel like you can't create this content because you don't have the best lighting, you don't have the best cinematographer, you don't have the best director, you don't have the best basically don't have the best crew. So I just want to highlight that here. That part I don't agree with. Again, it's about the story, especially with Yellowstone, especially with 1883. These are about American grit. These are about the American story. These are about tough men and women. And that's what we need to push in America. And you don't always need the best crew and the best production quality to push that.
Really, without all that the woke stuff in there, without all that just stuff that's forced in that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the storyline, which is what we're seeing. I think that's where people really take offense. I mean, there's fine like movies that are about those subjects that we would put in the woke category. Well, that's okay. Yeah, you can watch those and that's fine to make those. But then when it's something that you don't expect it to be forced into, that doesn't have anything to do with the storyline, that is just writers or Hollywood people or whatever injecting this in there because of a moral vanity, so that they can feel good when they go to their parties or give their acceptance speech at the Academy Awards.
And they're saying, and they are absolutely correct, is look, there's a big demand for these conservative shows or these conservative ideas, and we don't always need that woke culture thrown in our faces like it consistently is done, whether it's through Disney, whether it's through Paramount, whether it's through Universal. All these people are just throwing this woke stuff in there. And I'm not even saying woke stuff can't work. I just don't want it to be like thrown as a curveball. WandaVision, for example, from Marvel, that makes sense. She's a lead character. That's who she is. She has her superpower. That's fine. But when you're trying to make like James Bond a female, and you're doing it on purpose, and you're trying to make it like an African American, or just doesn't have to be African American, just a person of color that's trans or gay, you're throwing it in our faces at that point. If you want to create that kind of character, then create that character, but don't switch it out for like James Bond, who is clearly a guy's guy, sleeps with women, kicks ass, right? Does all this stuff. And then you're just going to infiltrate it with your ideology and narrative. And I firmly believe a lot of Americans don't want that, which is why they're turning away from Disney Plus. They're turning away from Disney. They're boycotting Disney. And I believe that these types of books, these types of movies are killing it, which is why a lot of people have been looking at Chris Pratt as a lead character for a lot of their films. He was being eyeballed for Indiana Jones. And like I've mentioned many times on the show, I would love for him to take over the helm of the Indiana Jones series. People like Jim Carr refer to him as he's a guy's guy, and so is Harrison Ford. Shia LaBeouf has called him that. Other people that have worked with Harrison Ford call him a guy's guy. He's able to make you laugh. Again, he's able to bring the dramatic appearance as well on screen. So these two guys have very big similarities in the way they give their performance. And I would love to see Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones. I'm excited about the Terminal List. I haven't read the novel, but hey, I'm going to Barnes and Nobles today. Might as well pick it up while I'm there. But folks, I want to know what you think about all this. Do you agree with this author here? Do you agree with Chris Pratt being a guy's guy, that we need to be having more TV shows and series that are built around a guy's guy, built around women, strong women, built around the family? Or do we still need to have this woke culture stuff that's just pushing this trans LGBTQRS elemental P alphabet soup ideology upon our children, upon other people? Because I'll be honest, folks, I just don't think that most of Americans want to see that type of stuff. And I think the proof's in the pudding here. Not speaking of Bernie Sanders, because if anybody knows that joke, Bernie Sanders absolutely loves pudding, because not only is he an old man, but he's also batshit crazy. But regardless, my point here is that a lot of people want to see shows like Yellowstone, which is why it's one of the most popular shows on TV. A lot of people liked Westworld early on. They liked that grit, that culture of back then. A lot of people clearly like 1883. These shows have proven in their stats that they'll make money. They've proven in the stats that that's what people want to see. But for some reason, these business people, these investors still want to push this woke stuff. And I don't, from a business standpoint, I don't get it. I mean, obviously they're making money off of it, but why would you not capitalize upon that market of the vast majority of America, especially middle America, in terms of catering your viewership to them, but yet you're catering your viewership to California, New York, Washington, these lefties, which doesn't even make up the vast majority of the market. So it just, on a business standpoint, doesn't make sense to me, but I'm rambling, folks. I can go on forever. So again, let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. I hope you're having a lovely weekend, folks, and I will see you later here on The Bald Brad Show.